ever felt like some plants just don't want to live in your home, you're definitely not alone. Ferns that crisp up, fiddle figs that drop leaves, calatheas that seem to throw tantrums the moment you look at them. These plants have a reputation for being almost impossible to keep alive. But here's the thing, all those so-called difficult plants don't have to be a constant struggle. In fact, there's a way to turn them into the easiest plants you've ever owned. Imagine ferns that stay lush, fiddle figs that keep their leaves, and calatheas that don't go brown overnight. Today, I'll show you how to take these heartbreakers from struggle to success. We're talking about changes you can make that completely transform their care, and they're changes that work, no matter how much these plants have stressed you out in the past. Let's jump right into the top 8 impossible plants you can actually grow and keep alive. Let's start with the fiddle fig, a plant people love but that's famous for leaf drop, brown spots, and root rot. Fiddle leaves hate soggy soil, but they need consistent moisture, which can make finding the right balance between underwatering and overwatering a nightmare. This is why most people struggle to keep this plant alive and happy. A quick fix for this struggle is to grow the fiddle fig in semi-hydroponics with Leca or pon or any other semi-hydroponic medium you choose. The plant's roots get a consistent but controlled supply of water and nutrients from the reservoir that's a part of the plant setup. The substrate wicks up just enough moisture to keep the plant hydrated without drowning the roots. Because the roots adapt to this hydro environment, they're much less likely to rot. When you use this method of growing your fiddle, you're not loving it to death by overwatering. No more watering guesswork. Fiddles do best in bright indirect light around 500 to 800 foot candles. Avoid direct light to prevent leaf burn, but give it enough light to thrive. Be sure to clean those big leaves to remove dust and allow for optimal photosynthesis and pest prevention. Ferns are notorious for going crispy if you miss just one watering, and they need extra humidity on top of that. Many people find their ferns struggle in soil, drying out too fast or staying too wet in the wrong pots. Either way, a disaster. With these watering woes in mind, growing a fern in semi-hydro is a no-brainer. In a semi-hydroponics, you can control moisture more precisely, which is exactly what ferns need. Leca or pon holds moisture at the roots consistently and boosts humidity around the plant, keeping those delicate leaves lush. Most ferns thrive in lower to medium light, which is about 200 to 500 foot candles. Place them away from direct sun to avoid leaf burn. Keep the nutrient reservoir topped up to keep the substrate damp. And thanks to the nutrient solution, the fern always has access to water and all the nutrition it needs. Refresh this solution every 2 to 3 weeks to prevent nutrient or mineral buildup. And don't forget to flush. Remove any dead or dying fronds to keep your fern looking its best. Calatheas are infamous for browning edges and leaf curl, often because of sensitivity to inconsistent moisture. These are plants that seem to throw a fit if you look at them the wrong way. With semi-hydro, calatheas can enjoy consistent moisture depending on the quality of the water where you are. Using filtered or distilled water reduces mineral buildup, which they're sensitive to. Leca or pon lets you avoid the soggy soil issues that often lead to root rot. The constant moisture without saturation is exactly what calatheas need to thrive. Semi-hydroponics allows the plant's roots to breathe, greatly reducing the risk of root rot. Calatheas do best in medium indirect light, around 200 to 300 foot candles. Too much light can cause leaf burn, so aim for a spot with filtered light. Remove dead or dying leaves to keep your plant looking good. Hoyas are generally easygoing plants, but some people struggle to keep them healthy and thriving, and they struggle to have them flower. A flowering Hoya is a healthy Hoya. So if you want those blooms, your plant has to be in tip-top condition. Hoya plants often struggle in soil because they don't like being too wet but need consistent moisture to thrive. In fact, I started exploring semi-hydroponics because I was sick and tired of seeing my new small Hoya leaves fall off because of inconsistent watering. With my new little leaves, once the soil dried off even a little bit, they would fall off. Growing my Hoyas in semi-hydroponics fixed that problem for me, and I have not looked back. In semi-hydroponics, Hoyas can get the airy, oxygenated environment they love with just enough water to keep them hydrated. Leca or pond provides a stable moisture and keeps those roots from getting waterlogged, promoting those healthy roots that Hoyas are known for. Most Hoyas love bright indirect light, around 500 to 1,000 foot candles, but they can also tolerate a bit of direct morning sun. Love your Hoyas and be patient with them. Keep them well hydrated and fertilized with nutrients, and when they're ready, they will flower for you, and flower and flower and flower. Monstera Thai constellations are popular, but they're notorious for getting root rot in soil that's too dense or waterlogged. This is the #1 killer of Monstera Thai constellations out in these streets. The important thing to remember is that Monsteras are naturally epiphytic, so they don't love compacted roots. Epiphytic plants are a type of plant that grow on the surface of other plants or surfaces and get their nutrients from the sun, rain, and air, which is why they have those amazing area roots to do that. Yep. Area roots actually have jobs. So your Thai constellation does not want to sit in waterlogged potting mix, which is why people go on and on about having a well-draining aeroid mix and getting the balance between underwatering and overwatering right. We've already talked about the benefits of growing plants in semi-hydroponics. With Leca or pond, the Monstera's roots stay well hydrated and get a steady supply of moisture without being drowned. The setup mimics their natural growing conditions, making them more resistant to root rot and allowing for those big, beautiful leaves. No more watering guesswork for you. All you need to do is to maintain that nutrient solution in the reservoir and enjoy your beautiful root rot-free plant. Monsteras do best in bright indirect light between 400 to 700 foot candles. Note to self: a Monstera Thai constellation does not need a moss pole to thrive. Any form of support will do. Spider plants are a classic and they're generally hardy, but when growing them in soil, they can suffer from root rot if they're overwatered. With semi-hydro, spider plants can access water without the risk of overwatering, and using filtered water in some cases can reduce mineral buildup on the leaves. Leca or pond allows for good airflow to the roots, reducing the risk of rot and keeping the plant happy. Spider plants prefer medium to bright indirect light around 200 to 500 foot candles. Avoid strong direct light, which can cause leaf burn. Change the nutrient solution as often as weekly or 3 weekly to keep it fresh, and rinse the substrate to avoid mineral buildup. African violets are said to be sensitive to water sitting on their leaves, and they're picky about moisture levels, which makes them tricky to grow in soil. In a semi-hydroponic setup, African violets get moisture directly to their roots, so you're not watering from above and risking leaf spots. Leca or pond provides a stable moisture level, which they love, and the nutrient solution means they're constantly fed. African violets do best in bright indirect light around 200 to 400 foot candles. They're sensitive to strong light, so avoid direct sun. Keep the reservoir filled just enough for wicking, replacing the nutrient solution every 2 to 3 weeks to keep the water balanced and prevent buildup. The Oxalis, with its beautiful triangular leaves, is another plant that can struggle in soil, especially if it's too dense. They're sensitive to root rot but need a steady moisture to stay lush. In semi-hydroponics, the Oxalis gets just the right amount of moisture without becoming waterlogged. The steady nutrient availability in the solution helps promote their vibrant growth, while the airy substrate keeps their roots happy. Oxalis thrives in bright indirect light, about 400 to 600 foot candles, and they can handle a little direct sun, but not too much, as that can fade their color. Watch this next video where I show you other plants that grow happily in semi-hydroponics. I'll see you there.